Hello and welcome to another edition of Professor Speaks. My name is Alex Hernandez. Alongside me, as always, is Dr. Craig Stern. And today we're going to be talking about the process of receiving a prescription and who benefits from each prescription that is, how would you say it, administered, given,
Dispensed.
dispensed.
Right.
Okay, we can go with that. Well, the reason why this topic came up was the Wall Street Journal had an article about the profits made by the middlemen in the process of a patient receiving a prescription. See, when we talk about middlemen, we're actually talking about the pharmacy, the wholesaler, and also the pharmacy benefit manager. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. You can Google it or look up what each one does on their own. But what we're really going to talk about is how the businesses make a profit and how no one really understands how these profits are made. It's complicated, it's confusing, so hopefully Dr. Stern can help clear some of that up. So, first question, why is this process so complicated?
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. When you guys brought this issue to me, Wall Street Journal talked about it. I think Pembroke Consulting, Adam Fine over at Pembroke has talked about it.
Right.
So there's a bunch of people that are trying to deal with this. And right now we're dealing with the issue that drugs in the past cost a lot of money. Now they cost even more money. And as benefits start to increase copays, people have to pay a bigger share of that money. So people care about transparency, and you and I have talked about transparency quite a bit in previous Facebook Lives and in what we've talked about in Pharmacy Benefit News. If I may, let me use an example here just to give an idea, because in a way, pharmacy is not a lot different than the rest of the purchasing industry. Suppose you go out to buy a shirt. You're buying a shirt from a retailer. The retailer got it presumably from the manufacturer, from a distributor. So there was the manufacturer, there was the distributor, there's the retailer. Each of them has bought it. Each of them has a profit built into it. And when you look at it, you identify that, okay, I like the shirt, I can afford the shirt, I'll buy the shirt. Or the shirt's too expensive and I like it a lot, but I'm not going to buy it because it's too expensive.
Right.
Drugs are a bit different in this regard because in this regard, you don't have a choice. If the prescription has been written, then people have a obligation to get the drug, take the drug in order to deal with whatever medical condition that the drug is treating.
Right.
Now, there may be one or two or three more middlemen in the process in the drug issue, but each one of them is taking a legitimate role in moving the product from manufacturer through distributors, through wholesalers, through the pharmacy benefit managers to the group. And part of that problem is that this problem is not transparent. It's not quite clear why drug costs are going up. We're listening to wars going on between pharmaceutical manufacturers saying that we're holding the prices down at single digits. Pharmacy benefit managers are forcing the price up. Pharmacy benefit managers are saying, no, we're lowering the cost of drugs, so it's really a manufacturer problem. Wholesalers have not spent a lot of time getting into the fray of public debate, but they're there.
Right.
And then, of course, pharmacies are part of this as they are trying to deal with accessing drugs and dealing with it. So the real problem, the fundamental issue, is that it's not transparent. And so while people don't have to tell exactly what they buy and pay, there has to be some transparency argument to identify who in fact is driving these prices up. And if it's everybody, then everybody has their ladle in the stream taking their money out,
Right.
and they can't argue that it's just one group because in fact it's everybody.
Right. So that kind of leads me to my next question is, why is there so much misinformation about this process and the spin when approaching the process? Like, why is there so much mudding of the waters, as you can say?
Well, the fundamental problem is people have made a lot of money off of this process.
Right.
And effectively, everyone down the chain has made a lot of money in the process of manufacturing, distributing, pharmacy benefit managers, in some cases health plans, etc. Everyone has made a lot of money, so they don't want to tell everyone how much money they've actually made.
Right.
The issue for all of us is that while we can quantify to a degree how much money, how much profit that each provider does, and that's been done by some, the real issue for us, even bigger than how much money that they're pulling out of the system, is that when costs go up, people want to know why. Now, if you're going to deal with why, then we have to deal with why is it that drugs and new drugs are costing over $1 billion to be approved and distributed? Why is it that there's a process that goes to decrease the cost, and yet wholesalers and pharmacy benefit managers, et cetera, are also getting money for that? If the drugs are dispensed or administered by physicians, they're getting a profit out of it. Pharmacies are getting a profit out of it. So the real issue for everybody is to cut through all of the rhetoric to try and understand what they get. At base, each group is picking up probably about 10% of the cost of what's going on. And so there's this, I put my ladle in the stream as a wholesaler distributor, and I get 3% or more. I have a PBM who's involved in it. They're getting 10% or more. A pharmacy is involved in it. They're getting whatever percentage that they can based on the type of drug, et cetera. And everybody's trying to go back to what it was, where there wasn't a lot of control over drug cost and people just effectively doubled the cost of the drug or more and made money. They'd like to go back to that.
Right. So as we talk about this, I've noticed that there's not very much said about this process. I mean, in researching what was going on, there's not much really being said other than this Wall Street Journal article, and you mentioned Adam Fine from Pembroke. Will considering this process affect the profit margins of everyone involved? Will it start changing how things are being done?
Well, yes, it will. And at the end of the day, number one is the more the people that it becomes transparent and people find out how much people are making, they will start to squeeze it, and they'll squeeze it probably, although it hasn't been well defined yet, they'll squeeze it probably into a cost plus nature. It costs X number of dollars. I'm willing to pay you a profit of so many dollars to deal with it. Because as I've said, in the case of the drug versus the shirt, I don't have to buy the shirt. I may want to buy the shirt, but I don't have to. On the other hand, with the drug, I don't have a lot of choices. And unless it's so expensive that I can't afford it at all, I have to deal with it, which reminds me we should ask what people can do about this before we're done as to how to handle it. But the basic issue for all of us is right now there's significant competition even in generic drugs. And the new head of the FDA's, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, is pressing for faster review of generics in order to get them on the market. That's going to drive the price down. We've already seen on the stock market that Teva, the largest generic manufacturer, their stock and their forecasts are down. So is Mylan, and their forecasts are down. So people are going to make less money on the generics. They're certainly going to try and make more money on the brands. And then the question is, how much money is the manufacturer making? How much money is the wholesaler making? How much money is the PBM making? The argument probably isn't going to be, I saved you money, therefore I deserve to have a lot of money. The argument will be, why did it cost so much in the amount? Why is it that rebates, et cetera, would give me some discount, but they don't happen at point of sale, so I don't see the benefit of those rebates. So I, as the patient, still pay a lot and am asked to pay a significant share. The health plan is asked to pay a significant share, and then rebates come after the fact and lower the cost, but they don't benefit me as a patient. They don't benefit the health plan, et cetera, and others. And so this is complicated because payment is not at point of sale, It's not a coupon that I can get a 10% discount when I buy it. It happens way later, and I don't know whether it's happened at that time, but it doesn't benefit the people who are actually paying.
Right. So it's a tough process to let it sit in when you're the patient. You're asking for a drug that might save your life. You have to pay an arm and a leg, and then the only people that really benefit from the price of the drug or whatever price cut are the middlemen involved. Right?
Well, let me give you an example. I mean, everybody is in business. They deserve to have a profit. The question for all of us is what they get. And I'll give you a very quick example. When Medicare Part D came in, Medicare Part D said we want the patient to pay the lowest cost so that we keep people out of what was known as the donut hole, where they would have to pay the total cost of the drug.
Right.
The idea was that whatever the cost of the drug was and whatever rebates were involved would all happen at point of sale, so that you would depress the cost of the drug as much as possible at the time when the patient picks up the drug.
Right.
However, the industry came in, health plans, PBMs, and others came in and said, well, we don't collect the rebates at point of sale. So instead of the government saying, fine, give me an estimate of what it is, we'll discount the price so that the patient pays less at point of sale, and then we'll reconcile it later. What they did was to come up with something known as the DIR rebate, or the direct and indirect rebate reimbursement.
Right.
Well, that meant that whatever the discounts were, everything was supposed to be happening later, and then subsequently would lower the cost of the premium and that the patient was paying.
Right.
And yet, in fact, there's a huge argument going on today between PBMs, pharmacies, and others, where PBMs are trying to collect it from pharmacies. Pharmacies are saying, no, you're asking for more than just the rebate, you're asking for the quality control, etc. And there's this huge argument going on now of how much is supposed to come back, who's supposed to pay it, because everybody wants to protect their amount that they got, rather than to push in order to get the lower price.
Very interesting stuff. Oh, well, you also asked earlier, what can the average person do? Like, leaving out the middleman and all that. What can the patient do to help with this process?
Yeah, given that the middleman exists, they're there, they collect profits, etc. But leave that to this, and they're going to, and we're going to leave that to the side. The thing that people can do here, and we can't solve the problem, this is not a cure, but we can try and lower costs. We can try and make the consumer a better purchaser. Number one, they need to address the cost of the drug and ask, how much is this drug going to cost? Ask their doctor when they're prescribing, approximately what is the cost of this drug? It's happening right now in cancer. The national cancer organizations are identifying what the cost of these drugs are, so that the oncologist can identify, should I prescribe drug A or drug B, depending on what cost is. So people should ask that question. If the cost is too much for them, then the next question is, what alternatives do I have? What other drugs are there? What other alternative drugs are there in order to decrease it? Number two, what kind of preventative measures should I take in order to lower my risk? It's certainly true in diabetes, hypertension, hyperlipidemia or high cholesterol, etc., where weight loss, dieting, exercise, etc. And while hard, and I understand that, I've lost hundreds of pounds. I'm just trying to get it to go in one direction. But bottom line is that there are preventative measures that can be taken that can limit the amount of drugs one has to take, and can also limit the types of drugs that one has to take. Right. The third question that people should ask is there a generic or a biosimilar for the drug that could save me some money in what goes on? And finally, the other issue that should be asked is, given that I have to take the drug, what is the best way to take it? Do I have to take it every day? Could I skip a day? Could I address it in different ways? These all have to deal with the pharmacology, something called the pharmacokinetics, about how it's distributed in the body, etc. But at the end of the day, there are multiple ways of asking, how do I take it so I can do some things to lower the cost? These questions should be basic. They should be asked by everybody, and people should add that as part of their natural regimen of questions whenever they're being given a diagnosis and being given therapy that they need to take day in and day out.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Dr. Stern. And that's all we have for you today. We'll ask you to please visit propharmaconsultants.com and please visit our free information page. It's RxInfoX. Also, we will have new videos for you every Wednesday. And please like, share, subscribe, comment, do all those things that social media does so well. And we'll see you next week.